bridge to Captain Picard.
Go ahead.
We've just received word from the fleet. They've engaged the Borg.
We have it in visual range. A Borg cube on course 0, Mark 215. Speed warp 9.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
All units, open fire. Remodulate shield protection.
They've broken through the defense perimeter. New order. Pursuit force.
Cube is changing course. 0, 2, 1, mark, 4.
Two wounded on the Lexi.
Commander Lutfi on the Manson.
Lieutenant Hawk, set a course for Earth.
Aye, sir.
Maximum warp.
Welcome back to Guy Fawkes Channel and our ongoing conversations with Dr. Richard Alan Miller. This talk took place on June 8th and was a voyage into some dark places about the possible future of humankind. But it is not without hope and ideas for how to avoid the worst that might be coming our way. Near the beginning of the conversation, Dr. Miller refers to a presentation done for NASA and some alphabet agencies, and a link is provided in the notes. I was originally reluctant to go down this path since it seemed very dark, and I was unprepared. By the end, I was glad I had done so. Dr. Miller, as usual, provided a fresh perspective that allows us to see a different pathway. We can break the pattern of endless war and constant fear by finding the courage to look inside of ourselves for new questions, new answers, and the all-important positive intentions. We need to seek a greater appreciation of the importance of water, the elixir of life that swims inside us, and without whose magical properties we would not be God's chosen creatures of precious imagination and positive emotion.
Hi there.
Hey, Rick, good morning. Or good evening, I should say.
Yeah, it's evening here. Sorry about that.
So it's about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock there?
Yeah, good. Yeah, we're good.
Good. I mean, I can put my picture on, but I won't be recording it.
No, that's fine. I don't look at the mirror either. But let's just go ahead and do this. I haven't had dinner, and
Okay.
I've got people that want to see me after we finish the interview. Hi.
Okay. Yeah, well, hi. Well, okay, so the question is where to go with this. I mean...
Well, there's the NASA document is something I really think we should at least briefly touch. Have you seen it? I just sent it to you.
I haven't studied it the way I've been looking at the gallery.
All right.
Video.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can go there. It's just, you know, that really was pretty scary, pretty
well,
pretty
it's
amazing
something that everybody needs to understand because, like geoengineering, the entire propellant program changed this last week. And the NASA document says that the changes we're going to see will be occurring in terms of months, not years.
Okay, well, that's pretty important then.
That's pretty important. And they just changed. They're now dispensing it with commercial jets. It's a different kind of the way the power is more efficient, way better. It's like a complete change in technology. It's in everybody. It's basically micro-dehydrating everybody, and disease is going to go way up as a result of being dehydrated.
Okay, well, all right, let's talk about that. I think that's a very important topic too.
Yeah, it's more important than anybody realizes because I'm now, with the work I started researching on easy water, I have come to the conclusion that our selection of water is even more important than our food. with GMO, certified organic, and community-supported agriculture. The selection of water is way more important. And the structuring of it, I can talk about the cavitation process and how it's a torus that's turning in on itself behind the bullet or whatever it is going through water, gamma ray, whatever. And that cavitation thing, St. Clair at MIT is now saying, is what caused the template for life and why water should be seen as the source of everything.
Okay, well, Rick, I'd like to do is, I think that's
yeah, you get the big picture there.
Yeah, I did, and I think
that's
I'd like to go
Clair
back.
now, out of MIT saying this.
Yeah, I don't know much about that one, but I'd like to
Well,
go back.
he's the one that's doing the Brown's gas and sonoluminescence studies with super cavitation processes. That's when you take a submarine or something through the water at a velocity. What happens is a ball follows behind. That's called a cavitation ball.
All right,
and
I did look at that. So I'm back. I'm with you now on that.
Okay, that's how cold fusion works. And we're now finding that process in everything. And water, the H3O2 structuring, turns out that's where all the energy is coming from.
Okay.
Now you need, by taking this small amounts of this water, it's created with a microwave. You rehydrate your body. I've been using it. I can't begin to tell you what the differences are because we're all of us micro-dehydrated. Your phlegm right now is white. That's because it has that polymer in it. It's everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. And there's now medical research coming out on it. It is what we call collateral damage.
Rick, look, I'd like to, we can go through this perhaps now a bit more slowly because.
I gave you a quick overview so you had a sense of the length, girth, and width. Basically, the map that's used was Alex Kavarenan and probably going back to Penrose. And so it's a torus twistor space event. And the cavitation is a result when you drop a drop of water into water. When it goes into the water, a second ball is thrown back up, and that ball is turning inside out on itself like a dimensional thing. It's very interesting. The physics is out of MIT.
Okay, well, what I want to do is sort of for people. I'm with you on this. I think I know what you're saying, but people who
I can do it more
switch on this
simply
podcast may not be there yet. So
well, then we'll ease into it.
Yeah.
It's an extreme. This is why the church blesses water. This is why you sit down and pray at dinner, not having to do with religion now. And Jesus.
Okay.
Christ, this intentionality and how you're taking psyche into matter.
Right, but I think what we need to do first of all is people need to understand a little bit why the NASA material is so.
Oh,
bright
I'll be glad to run that down.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, and then we can come on to.
Sure.
I'd like to start with
whatever
NASA, and then go with biochemical.
And I'm quite familiar with
and then go to the water as a solution, and why that actually might work. So like 3 parts I could see on that. But I want to start with the NASA because when I read that, and I read it fairly quickly, I'm not 100% prepared.
But you got the drift of it, didn't you?
Well, the main point I got was that, it sounds like genocide to me.
No, it's it's worse. It's different than anything you can imagine. And we can talk about it and the possible levels of interpretation.
All right. Well, why don't we do a quick overview of that?
Sure.
First,
I've got it
people
queued
understand
right
why
now.
they should be concerned about this.
Well, look, they did this in the 80s. It was called Secret Weapons for Silent Wars. This is a paper on future strategies of war and what it will be actually. It won't be bombs and guns and things like that. It's going to be a totally different universe. World War III has already started. It is information is a weapon, and the internet is where the first battles are being fought.
So, Rick, we need to, I think, give people a bit of an idea who is they. Who's fighting this war?
Yeah, okay. We can talk about China and Russia and the petrodollar with Iran. You bet.
Well, I mean, it seems to me there could even be a bigger picture than that.
Well, transnational corporations. Okay, on geoengineering, there are 5 different programs, only one of which is DoD weapons, you know, in terms of Star Wars weapons and creating a waveguide. Okay, that's just one thing. There are 4 other things going on. One is with the United Nations on global warming, which is bogus. Okay, who's funding that? Well, there are 5 different transnational corporations, one of which is Monsanto, and it's already been shown that barium oxide will kill most crops except GMO.
Well, Rick, this is a very big issue right now, and
yeah.
I'm very aware of some of who can know everything. I can't.
But
I'm aware of some of the big picture here, and I want to paint this out a little bit for
you're in
the
charge.
audience.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll just paint a very quick picture of what I think is going on.
Sure, do it, and I'll just follow your lead.
And then maybe you can fill in the blanks and maybe provide a more rounded and complete view.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, it's good. Go for it. You're in charge.
Okay, so the really big sort of story that I got onto this week was coming out of Veterans Today and some of the people involved with that. And it's a lot to summarize in a few words, but I'll mention a couple of people who've been putting out
Linda
some amazing.
Moore you mentioned.
Well, no, that's one. But some people who've been putting out some really amazing material are Gordon Duff and Preston
I've seen
James.
Gordon Duff stuff, yeah.
And he did a report, an interview with Stu Webb, which if you haven't heard it, is a real must listen to. And I'm still trying to understand what that's all about. But essentially, Duff seems to be getting a hold of some material from the Russians and maybe the French through his intelligence contacts, which are blowing the whistle on some really big stuff that's been going down. For example, 9/11 and nuclear weapons that have apparently
that particle beam weapon that they're suggesting is why the buildings, when they fell, there was no debris. I've seen all of that. Yes.
Right. So and apparently there's 70,000 people in New York City right now who are dying of nuclear contamination slowly, and he believes, Duff does, that has something to do with what happened at 9/11. And he's coming out with evidence. Apparently he's got some documentation that he's ready to release or has released. And I mean, if this is true, and how can I know, but it sounds possibly true, this is truly inflammatory stuff, which is going to more or less point the finger, and I won't mention any names here because I don't know how true this is, but it would point the finger at some very powerful insiders in the U.S. who have been up to some very major misdeeds. And connecting to that are some interesting material coming out of Preston James. It's pretty hard for me to summarize this on the fly, but essentially the war seems to talk about the war on the internet, and I'm trying to tie into that. It seems like there are 2 sides here. And it isn't the U.S. versus Russia and China, but rather a power elite within the U.S., which may in fact be battling the American people, versus some white hats that are inside the military, and perhaps people in foreign countries. And
what does a white hat mean to you, other than Kerry Cassidy? What does that mean?
It means somebody who, was not necessarily following the orders, but trying to do what's right. And they may be quietly or not quietly.
Acquiescing, gotcha.
Yeah, they may be helping. I mean, a good place to sort of see this is Edward Snowden. We just passed the 1-year anniversary of Stone's revelations, and I was talking to someone last night who has some ownership in the hotel where he stayed in Hong Kong, and that's just a strange link. But he came, first to Hong Kong. He revealed his material to some reporters here, and he couldn't stay. He wasn't really wanted in Hong Kong, and he wound up going to Russia. But it's pretty obvious to me, and we were talking about it last night, that he's being protected. He's been given information. He's been given help by somebody from the inside. He's being protected, obviously in one level by Putin, but also being protected and assisted by some people inside the intelligence services. It would seem.
Putin isn't exactly all you think he is.
Well, I mean,
he's a real tough hombre, man.
Yes, and you have to be a tough hombre to take on what he's taking on. And I'm not saying
he was KGB. I mean, like Bush was CIA. Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, look, we shouldn't start talking about names and so forth because I don't know.
You're in charge.
I mean, we could if you want to, but
off the record.
Yes. But we're on the record now. I'm recording this, so.
Oh, you are? Okay. Then yes. I won't say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
for warning me.
Well, if there's anything that you said, we can restart.
I got
this.
you. No, it's fine. I've got it that you're recording. I was going to say something, but we'll go forward. You're in charge. Let's go forward.
Okay. So I'm really trying to pick up the bigger theme that you which is it's too important to ignore, upon which we started this. And what I wanted to do, first of all, is get some sense of who is the they when we're talking about NASA, because if there is a group inside the U.S. that's been trying to control things, call them the shadow secret government. There are other names that that Gordon and Stu Webb.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on there. Really.
But how do you see the NASA? I mean, that document, I don't know where that came from, but is that a public document?
Yes, it is. Dennis Bushnell. He's chief scientist at Langley.
Okay. Well, I just can't believe I'd never seen that before.
Well, it just came out. Okay. That's why I'm giving it to you.
How did you get a hold of that?
Oh, it's all over the internet. There's lots of different sources. It is an official presentation. It's meant to be basically. It is. The title of the document is Future Strategic Issues, Future Warfare in 2025. And it's the capabilities of the enemy after next. Ongoing worldwide technology is changing things, and so the potential nature of the further term warfare is going to take on many faces. The actual title of the paper is on page 2. It's called The Bots, Borgs, and Humans Welcomes You to 2025. And if you will, you slip through, the next page runs down all the different participating agencies, including CIA, DARPA, NRO, Army After Next, ACOM, all of them, Navy, Air Force, whatever. But you move down to page 4, there's no pixie dust. In other words, this whole scenario, this 114-page document or slideshow, is basically our future from this moment to 2025, as seen by the best scientists in scenario forums that they could put together. And when I say that, I'm going to jump immediately to page 8, and I'm going to just give you a sense of it. Page 8, Spaceship Earth, okay? If you look at Earth as a spaceship, it's a closed system running through space. The crew are plundering the ship's supplies, tinkering with temperature and life support controls, looking for an instruction manual, engaging in bloody skirmishes at every corner of the vessel, and increasing the size of the crew by 2 million persons per week. That what cover it?
Yeah, well, that's
where we are right now.
That's when we get into genocide of.
Well, they're tinkering with life support, and they don't have an owner's manual, and there's skirmishes and rioting going on all over the ship, and we're increasing the crew by 2 million people per week. Now that's today. Page 9. It goes on from there. Now,
Rick, can I stop you there? Because
sure.
I'd like to give you my reaction to that and see if we're on the same wavelength here. This sounds like whoever puts this material out.
Nobody's in charge. To answer your question.
Okay, so he's, as far as you see it, he's simply painting the truth.
It would imply that we have a spaceship and that somebody's the captain of it. That is not Rothschild, but that would be your captain, since he's number 1, number 3, number 5, and number 7. Out of the top 11 people in the world, the 4 of them are Rothschilds. Now, that doesn't mean they're in charge, because control is a fantasy. It's not really real. And that's why there's fear and petrodollars and gold reserves. Good luck with that. There's all of it going on with plundering by the crew, tinkering with life support, no owner's manual on how to operate and reboot the thing, and we're coming into a pole shift. And that will be the natural catastrophe, most likely. And really, this is military now I'm speaking. And when I say that, I'm suggesting that none of us know what's going to happen. We do worst case scenarios, and we try to project based on the best intel we have. The intel is continually being upgraded. The problem in this NASA document now says that our technology is changing so quickly today that changes in Earth and in humanity will be measured in months now, not years. And that where it's all going, if you want to go to a different page in here, where they talk about transhumanism and man becoming virtual.
Yes, let's go there.
Why? That's a creepy place to go. Well, it's down into a very deep rabbit hole. And
yeah, I know. I'm frightened a bit about that, but right now it's obvious that somebody's pushing us there. I've seen a couple of movies recently. For example, what's it called? Edge of Tomorrow.
I saw that
Tom Cruise film.
I just came back from that movie, and
that's frightening
because they're blood mixed.
Well, I get a number of really dark things when I.
How does that work with the 4th genotype in making man Homo sapiens and the bloodlines of Christ? Your so-called Nephilim, making it with a bunch of rocks out of Noah. That whole thing is crazy. Now, if you were an alien and you wanted to hide in plain sight and time was not real, it seemed to me like we got invaded about 200,000 years ago with something that interjected something into our genotypes that is not human. And with that, it's that O negative and negative in your blood types.
Well, now, hold on a second, because if you look at the DNA and the blood types of the human population, they're quite different. We've got, 15% who are Rh negative or whatever?
Yeah, and that is supposedly the non-human gene. And now it's crossed over, and you can find it in AB positive. You can find it everywhere. Now, here's the metaphor. Basically, the war for Earth is going on inside each of us. And that at one level, man is one individual or what we call Adam Kadmon, at the archetypal level of the numinous, where our egos merge and we all become the length, girth, and width of what would be called humanity. Now, with that, that's where the war is being fought. It's not with them. Yeah, you're at war with yourself.
Okay, so in other words, we have this different sort of DNA material, genetic material in us, and that material, in effect, is in battle with itself.
Well, that's exactly correct. And what is going to be the dominant genotype?
Yeah. So
you have choice. That's what made you God's favorite. If you want to get into the metaphysics of it, it's right there in the conflict. This is the foundation of imaginal psychology and the whole construct of archetypes.
Okay, so is this related to the notion of your coming book, which is changing the movie?
Yes, that is the non-local mind in a holographic universe. And what we're now discovering, and there's some very nice references on that, is that consciousness cannot be duplicated with a computer. In fact, Hawking came out last week after, what was it called? Transcendence came out with Johnny Depp. Yes. And that whole movie, the fear of artificial intelligence taking over and no longer needing life forms in the form of a physical human body that's locked into space-time, or what Hindu called Kal.
Yeah, what did you think of that movie? I mean, why are we being bombarded with these notions that, humanity as it is now? The
same reason a dog licks its genitals, because it can. And the reason I'm saying it that way is that imagination is more real than you could possibly imagine, and why, as you become more evolved, you must take personal responsibility for the thoughts you choose to entertain. That is essential, because that is the whole concept of intentionality. And to be distracted, like we are, to be distracted by it's a new car or money. Money is like a theatrical prop. It's not real. What's real is love. What's real is your labor.
Well, I'm really with you on that, Rick, and I want to say the same thing in my own words to make sure I understand you. So what I'm going to say is this: if we let people manipulate where our lazy minds go, we can be manipulated into a future where
we are being. That's the deal.
Exactly, where we're at constant war.
If you were
we're constantly in fear, and so the only response that we sort of automatically have to that is to go to war, and that's what the message.
Well, no, war is good for business. It's not about that's all war is about. And this NASA document addresses each of these issues. As you move forward on that, there's order of 70% of the world research is now conducted outside of the U.S. That means we have a gross national product. What that literally means is that the New World Order is a bunch of Jesuits, let's just call them illuminated, at war with China on minimum wage. And Seattle just increased its minimum wage to $15 an hour, while China is only at $2. And why everything in your home is from China or Korea, or, what I'm trying to say is there's nothing being developed or exported from the U.S. anymore.
Well, I mean, I can see that. I mean, this doesn't, this is so obvious. I live in Hong Kong, so I mean, what I see here is, and I have neighbors here. I've got a neighbor who set up a company here to make 3D printers. Guess what? He's from America, and he came over here because he has the freedom to start his company. He can get talented people. He can get what he needs. He doesn't have to face a lot of regulation. And he's going on and building the future. And guess what? He's sort of a very charismatic guy who's got a big following. Young people in their 20s and 30s are following this guy. And these aren't Chinese. I mean, Americans still have this gene, which is the creative entrepreneurial gene, where they're just not allowed to exercise it in the U.S., so they're coming over here to Hong Kong and they're going to other places.
Yeah, like India. India is where most of your phone hacking and account ripping off is occurring by a bunch of kids over there learning how to work backdoors. Yesterday, I was talking about an old friend I grew up with, Captain Crunch. That's Michael James Reconasuccio. He was the one that invented the blue box, the black box, and the red box. Ding, 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 get a grip. The technological ages, this is slide number 12 in the NASA document, says the technological ages of humanity included the hunter-killer groups, which was 1 million BC to about 10,000 BC. Then we went to agriculture, which was 10,000 BC to about 1800 AD. And then we had the Industrial Revolution, 1800 to 1950. And you see the exponential curve. We had the IT from 1950 to 2020, the bio-nano from 2020 to who knows, and then the next one would be virtual, where we're no longer here.
Yes. Well,
that's just page 12.
That fits in exactly with what Catherine Austin Fitts is saying, which is that this shadow secret government, whatever you want to call them, that's driving the breakaway civilization, which are other words for what you're talking about, I think. These folks are no longer American. They've gone global, and they've got capital and resources and opportunities that are outside the U.S. now. And all the U.S. has left is basically all the cost of healthcare.
So it's important to realize that the IT revolution, the information technology, is that information is no longer about truth. And that with the internet, there's any given event from 9/11 to Sandy Hook is a false flag with probably at least 4 or 5 layers of the onion with different false flags involved. And that you will probably, like Antarctica, never know what was real and what really happened. And that's because information is not about truth. Truth is only found inside yourself. It's not looking outside and observing. That's crazy. That's like I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't believed it. Basically, what's going to happen next in our revolution will be automatics and robotics. And that's where there is a big concern of making a machine more intelligent than man. It probably is not going to be possible because I personally, my research now is lending me toward the nature and concept of structured water and what it is and what it is not. And it's very, very interesting how just a slight shift of paradigms in the way you see the universe. When we had a quantum universe, we had indeterminacy with Heisenberg, which meant that the more you knew about one thing, you automatically knew less about the other. And so that was all the further you could get with that system or model. A holographic system does not use space or time as a measurement. They use information, which means now information has a different kind of structure in terms of what it infers. There is a theorem that says that if you have enough information to ask a coherent question, you have enough information to answer it. That means the framing of the question in itself contains the answer. And those are called algorithms that are currently being used on the internet. Cliff High has some with his using Ben Goertzel and On's algebra. The military uses Clifford forms of algebra. Originally, that started out with a thing called cybernetic anthropology with Laughlin, D'Aquila, and McManus. And that was the nature of consciousness in the way you would lay out a city as another layer or tribal system of awareness and the networking. And that is a holographic system where you talk about resolution of the information, the way information folds down into or out of itself. And when you realize the concepts of water being H2O, hydrogen being the smallest atom and the second, oxygen is number 8. The only other molecule that's down that low would be helium, which is He2, and has no dipole moment. It is that dipole moment and the construct of heavy water and restructuring of water. The EZ water, exclusion zone water that they talk about now is basically hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, with a third hydrogen atom, H3O2. And what that does is causes a bond geometry change, and that structures the way that water goes up against the surface of something else. That's what we call surface tension. And that...
Rick, this is really excellent, but we've missed a step here. If you
sorry, no problem. Yeah, okay.
At least in my mind, okay?
I do that because I assume people are with me.
Well,
I have to listen to me 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I do listen to you, and I'm getting
no.
close to this.
That's fine. Okay, go ahead and redirect me. Sorry,
okay,
I go.
So I want to come back here because you're really moving us towards a solution. But
that's what I'm looking for is a way out of this rabbit hole.
So I'm interested too, but I think a lot of people are kind of a little bit stuck, which is where I'm stuck.
Yeah, we're all stuck.
In the missing steps. So
that's from the naughty lady of Shady Lane. Listen, we are all being distracted on what is truthfully important.
Yes, of course.
And that's the part which has to do with intent. Why are you here? What is your purpose?
Okay.
And everybody's different.
Yes. Well,
that's the richness of it, actually.
Yeah. Well, Rick, you've scared the Jesus out of us, and I need to go back to that point and scare people a little bit more, and then I think I'm getting you. If I'm getting you, I'm going to ask you the wrong question, and then ask.
Oh no,
I am. I'm going to ask you exactly the wrong question, and then I'm going to ask for your help to find the right question, because what you said, and it really resonated with me, and that my mind was resonating on that while you were talking, and I'm listening and resonating at the same time. But here's where I was stuck. You said if you ask the question, you already know the answer.
That's correct.
Okay. Now,
because the enteric nervous system is outside of space-time.
Yes.
That's what we call intuition. It's extrasensory perception is what it has been called. But basically, it is what connects you to, when I say self, the higher self, the other 9/10 of your cerebral cortex, that part of you that's actually directing this movie.
Okay, so this is the question that I'm going to ask you, and I know the answer. I know what the answer probably might be. And, here's the thing. This is the wrong question. I don't want to ask this question. And if I ask this question and other people ask this question, we're going to come to the wrong answer. We're going to be in the wrong place. But here's the question that I'm asking.
Don't steal this book.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, so, that's the right question. Don't steal this book.
so here's the question.
Abby Hoffman.
The question is, if we're headed towards becoming Supermen, what do we do with the people who clearly are not capable of being Supermen?
Well, here we go.
I don't want to ask this question.
But you don't want to know what that means.
No, but I tell you what.
They're not indigo, and this isn't Kansas anymore, Toto.
So let's ask a different question than that.
All right, good.
I don't want to ask that question because I really.
I'll bet.
I know
the answer.
Yeah, we all know the answer, and
there it is. Read it and weep. You either get up off the couch or you don't, and it's personal choice.
So let's ask another question. And then, because then when we start on that other
how
question,
how did Johnny Carson do it? Swami says.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think you're actually giving the answer without having asked the question, and that's
that's exactly correct.
When
now, by George, I think he's got it. The rain in Spain. That's right. That now you're getting it, because everybody that is listening to me right now, everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Why they're doing it or not doing it, you got all kinds of excuses, including that beautiful-looking whore over there that you can't hardly keep your hands on. That's the distraction part of life. Physical plane is where we go to be sick spiritually, and it's not real. What you're experiencing, Fukushima, is your fever, and apocalypse is all part of the brew. There will always be an archetypal aspect of apocalypse as the length, girth, and width of men. That's Joseph Campbell. He said, when you see the kingdom of the Father on earth, the apocalypse has already occurred, that it is perpetual in its potential. It is the way you choose to see things. And
so if we look at what's happening around us and we read that NASA material and we look at Morgellons and all this other frightening stuff in the chemtrails, it's apocalypse. So we have to ask a different question, and by asking that different question, are we therefore changing the movie?
You already did.
Okay.
Just like that. There's a thing on the internet, you can Google it up. I think I have a link in something I sent you, called the intentionality experiment, where they, had a bunch of people look at water and try to change it, and then they looked at the optics using a Raman spectrophotometer to see if the structure in the water changed. A Raman spectrophotometer is not the necessary toy I would have used. I would have looked in the UV. However, they're now noticing that water has a bunch of different structures to it. Actually, there are 18 phases of water.
18.
And one of them.
18. Well, can we start with 4? Because 4.
Yeah, that's Jerry Pollack. The fourth one right now.
But I think this is really important, and the people who are listening to this the first time, I think they need to know this. And then before they go to 18, they've got to start with 4, because when I grew up, I was being taught there were 3 phases of water. There was obviously gas, there was liquid, and there was solid ice.
Yeah, but then if you go to Mars, where your Boyle's law, PV equals nRT, and you have a pressure that is so thin in atmosphere that the water does not freeze at 100 below Fahrenheit. It's a slushy ice. There's a form of water.
Okay, so that's a 5th.
Or 6th, or 7th, Who cares what the numbering is? What they are phases of the way it relates to plasmas and other kinds of forms that matter can appear. Remember, there's isotopes, and there's the ability, because it has a dipole moment, it could be a cluster water, which is H3O7 with a free radical ion. That was called Kerry-Reams.
So, Rick, I want to share with you a dream that I promise you is 100% relevant to what we're talking about now. Okay, so I promise you, and I think this will put the whole conversation actually forward. But I want to get it out there because I want to give people this image. And here's my dream. I was raised as a Catholic. I used to go and get on my knees and have the priest put the host in, and that was a religious ceremony, a sharing of, and it was very hierarchical, okay? Now, I had a dream, and in my dream, I imagined a huge sort of glass of water, a beaker, a round cylinder of water that's maybe 12 feet high or something, or 10 feet high, and standing around that water in a circle were, say, 12 people. And each of those people was standing in front of this pure, distilled, wonderful water of whatever, maybe waterfall water. And they had their hand out on the glass. And they were all making their intention into that water. So it was traveling from them through their hands, through the glass, into the water. And then the religious ceremony wasn't a priest handing them a host. The religious ceremony was them drinking the water that they just put their own intention into.
That is correct. That's the way you do it. That is the ritual.
Does that exist now?
Oh, yeah, it's holy water. You do it at grace at a meal.
Okay, but
the metaphor is ever present archetypally.
But we don't
and
need
the
a
whole
priest
concept
to give us this water. We can do it ourselves.
Exactly.
So
the easy water today is manufactured with a proprietary technique using microwave horn at a certain bandwidth frequency band, hitting it to the point where it's causing a structural variation because of the microheating of microwaves on a quantum mechanical level. They're using a 4.6 something gigahertz frequency band. I've got the data down. And this is to make what they call easy water. Now, basically, what a dolphin does is he blows a sonar bubble and creates a cavitation because of the sonar going through the water. It causes a ball to form called sonoluminescence. It's a form of cold fusion. If a submarine is going through the water, there is a ball of water that follows the submarine, is separated from the submarine, and has extremely unique properties. And a torpedo, same thing. It's called cavitation. And the idea is that basically what it is, in that ball of water is a toroid that the water is turning in on itself as a topological surface so that the inside is becoming the outside. And we've seen that with some of the water experiments with sound, and the term is called cavitation, and basically it is a type of dimensional gate where you're creating energy from a different space.
Rick, I mean, there's some dummies out there who will pick up some of those words as words and not as images, so I want to do the images if we can.
Sure.
So the submarine's traveling through the water.
When you throw a bullet through the water, when you shoot a bullet through the water, shoot an arrow, drop a pebble into the water, what happens is that there is a reaction backward from the water, and it creates a little ball that goes up in the air. And if
but it isn't exactly a ball, is it? I mean, when you say toroid,
it can be a group of balls.
Yeah, the picture I get, maybe it's not quite accurate, but
you get a bunch of little balls that form a larger structure, but inside that larger
a sort of water donut, if you will.
I'm sorry?
A donut.
Yes,
you know,
it's
a torus shape coming off the back of the submarine. And it's almost like the submarine is printing donuts of water behind it.
Well, it's a ball. It's not a donut, but inside the ball, the water, the movement of the micro water on a quantum mechanical level is a toroid. And
so
what
that means is that the ball actually has, it's not
inner movement.
It's not an out and
moving inside itself.
Okay, so this is like Hollow Earth or something, right? It's kind of
well, not Hollow Earth because the Earth isn't water, but okay.
But in the sense of the there's no real outside and inside. The
reason this can happen, by the way, is because of the dipole moment.
Explain
is that displacement of electrons in their relationship to the atom that causes this phenomena that is unique to water.
Okay, so why is water unique?
That's a good question. I tried to infer that earlier by saying it's the smallest known molecule that has a dipole moment.
Which, to put that another way, would mean?
Well, helium is 2, where hydrogen is 1 and oxygen is 8. When you take a single oxygen and you put 2 helium atoms on it, that's a very small molecule. There aren't any molecules smaller than that also have a dipole moment.
So the magic of the dipole moment is
that difference of charged particles in the relationship of the event horizon. And that is what's called the exclusion zone. And the way that exclusion zone layers itself against an object, whether it be, palladium or, molybdenum or other kinds of metals, will determine the strength and climbing ability of the ensuing what we call static electricity, or the rigidness inside the dipole moment of that. The turgor of water. Let's
go back to my dream for a second. We got this cylinder, and the sort of boring water is in the middle of the cylinder. The interesting water is right on the surface next to the glass.
And it climbs the wall of the glass. And if the glass is not glass, it's metal, it'll climb even better. And Jerry Pollack did it where he activated the water to such an extent that with palladium, the water climbs up the lip of the container, traveled 16 inches across space, and down the other side into another beaker of water.
Wow.
He had created such surface tension that there was a flow without breaking even an air.
So
that had to do with the water touching certain metals that react differently because of their own geometric latticing and things. It's an interesting system of mathematics.
So I need to get this picture across to the people who aren't mathematicians.
Okay, in plastic, there's no surface tension. In glass, there is surface tension. You can see how the water will bead up the glass rather than flat like it will on plastic. Plastic is very bad. Glass is good. What's better is a metal, is aluminum, the one most people do know. But there are other metals that are more active and will cause a higher surface tension. What that will do is change the pH of the water and the way the stray chemicals and impurities are aligned in the system of water.
Okay, so I just stick with this picture thing because I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm getting it sort of, but I can get it more clearly, and maybe people who listen to this will get it more clearly if we just stick with these pictures. So
sure.
I've got my hand on the glass or metal, it's better, and without me doing anything, without my hand even there'll be a small layer created right next to that surface, right next to that glass or metal, which
that's
has
called the exclusion zone, where it changes.
This is exclusion zone, easy water, right? So
that's
exclusion zone is
exclusion zone water. Yeah.
So exclusion zone water, which is a sort of special water.
And you can measure that by using certain light band frequencies, and the way they are diffracted will determine whether it's this kind of structure.
So that water as well, that is easy water, can pick up intention and can grow when you feel intention.
The big question is, how does it do that? And we're going to talk about microtubules and resonant cavity oscillators in the way water goes through a microtubule.
Okay.
Now, that's where intentionality becomes everything. And the experiments they did weren't showing any change because the water changed before they started the experiment. Turns out the water changed when they decided to do the experiment in the first place, not when they decided to start timing their focus of it. Because in my ESP book, I talk about the idea of the intensity of concentration, or the question that you're asking, and the fact that you repeat it and you repeat it, and each time it adds into the thought form of how that information is projected into the physical world. And we are now believing that water has a big role in this whole thing. It is how psyche is brought into matter.
So
how thought becomes reality, how to change the movie.
Right. So, this in this image that I painted, the intentionality is going into the surface growing as the intentionality feeds it. I think light feeds it as well, if I understand this.
Well, light is the submarine that causes the cavitation in the water to form the EC water, or exclusion zone boundaries.
So
it's that object moving through there like metal.
So I don't know where I picked this up. I think I picked this up from you, from an interview you did, but here's the words I'm going to use. The sun is our father, and from the sun, i.e. the light, comes the intentionality, comes the evolution. Is there something in that?
Well, that's St. Clair again, where he said that when the Earth was here with no life on it and had a big ocean, and a comet came down and hit the ocean, what came out of the cavitation ball was a template for DNA.
So the DNA came in the sunlight, or it came
at MIT that's talking about.
So that came in the DNA came in the cavitation. It came in the sun, or it came in the comet.
Yeah, well, that's yes, all of the above. It's probably the father, since the whole thing is the heliosphere, and I don't know how comets work in all of that.
I mean, there's a guy you probably know called David Wilcock, who does.
Well, I got to worry about Wilcox. I'm not Wilcox. I'm a physicist.
No. So I mean, he mixes junk science and real science.
Yes.
Yeah. So what you're talking here is real science, and he talks about the source field and how.
Well, I don't know what the source is. It's probably some alien.
Well, yeah.
And how did Bob Dylan put it? Everybody's got to serve somebody. That means there's probably a hierarchy out there.
Okay.
And we're way down on that food chain, most likely.
So if we're going to get out of this thing, we need to put our intention.
Well, that's the deal. When I was in Mexico, I met a bunch of Europeans, and they had 3 words for Americans: ignorant, ill-informed, and complacent.
Hey, I can't disagree. I live in Hong Kong. I've already seen that picture.
Well, it's terrible here.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's like there, but
it's much better. But people, because the environment here is not actively working.
They're going to be the ones to show everybody how to do it, and we're going to be worse off than Mexico shortly.
Yeah, because of the lack.
The disparity between middle class. There is no middle class. Everybody that I know is broke.
Well, Rick, I think it can be fixed. I mean, I can see how to fix it, in some way. I can tell you about that. I mean, there's no real reason to go there now. But, I mean, it's not hard to fix, but you need people who have the intention of fixing it. And the leaders that the U.S. has right now have no intention to fix it. They're riding the wave, and the wave is leading in the wrong direction.
Well, that's the plundering of natural resources on board our ship.
Yes.
They're also tinkering with life support, blah, blah, blah. That's how they laid this whole thing out, chapter and verse, and it's like, get a grip. And
so
the people
who are awake, who have a strong intention, are there enough?
They're not
what does
strong
it matter?
enough. That's the whole thing. It's gonna be on the length, girth, and width of the archetype. Man is going to evolve, kicking and screaming, or flowing. It's going to happen, and how it happens depends personally on your own relationship to yourself. That's how it's going to work.
But if you're surrounded by people who are asleep, and you're not asleep,
then I get more work done.
Yeah, but
I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, you can work on yourself, but to really change the movie for the whole country.
Well, the deal is the way that works. Yeah, Michael, listen. The way it works is that if you want to change this world, the only thing you're responsible for is yourself, not the world.
Well, I mean,
you don't worry about out there. You worry about in here, and you start there.
But we're having this conversation right now because we believe that, but we also believe that we have some kind of role to play in, the education or the waking up.
You think I'm real?
Well,
Really?
Are you revealing to me that you're not real?
Huh? Yeah. Isn't that the way Klaatu put it? Really? You really believe that? That's where you're self-medicating and need to get a grip and start with basics. And you can't do everything in it. Rome was not built in a day.
So
it was destroyed in a day, but it wasn't built in a day. And it's one step at a time.
You take Matt Stein, who's doing a great job at putting together tools and toolbox and books and so forth, and everyone should be onto this stuff, but they're not. I mean, it must be very frustrating for him.
Well, that's what you're about. You're kind of like the town crier.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, each of us is. I mean, I do it in my small way. A few people listen to me.
Well, that's right. And you have goals that are similar to mine, and why you actually truly helped me doing interviews and things like this. Michael, I really was not even started. Nobody knew me before you started with me, and I appreciate all of this in humble beginnings. We have to take one step at a time.
Right back to you too, because I learned so much, and it's been wonderful, and I'm learning all the time. Thank you very much.
Well, stay tuned on that. Knowledge is not wisdom, and wisdom can become knowledge, but only in a temporary place in the tree of life.
But okay, so we've got people now who are listening to this, maybe thinking. Okay, the solution is not to go with the flow and be a sleeping consumer rat, nor is it to be
getting that new car and that big extra paycheck.
No, it's certainly not there, and that's a trap anyway, debt trap probably. And nor is it in getting sucked into the military. I'll go for a job, but I'll wind up, fighting a war and, endless war. I mean, Hillary Clinton is going to promise everybody endless war.
A bunch of old men that are making profits off the young death.
Yeah. So we don't want to go there, and we want people to wake up. And I mean, Catherine Austin Fitts has a bit of an image here of people working locally, getting their hands involved in building new things, and building a better community around them. Building a better community around them, which is and you have this beautiful image of agriculture, which goes to the children. It goes to urban agriculture. It goes to growing your own food.
That's just part of my mission statement. But each of us is different, and even though they might seem in conflict with each other, that's God's will, and that's why we're only in 4th grade. You have no clue about what 5th grade is, and criminy. There's beyond 5th grade. There's graduate school and postdoctoral sabbaticals, and get a grip. We're only in 4th grade. There is no possible way that's one of the reasons I started studying magic over physics, which was magic was seen as an advanced form of physics with a mystery school. A part of it is not knowable, maybe at any century.
So Rick, you've been putting this message out. I know people are listening to it. I thought your interview with Solaris Blu-ray was quite fascinating, actually. I just stumbled across that by accident. But here's somebody that comes at things from a very different angle, and you found a lot of room for agreement and shared a lot of nice things in that interview. The point I'm making here is you're getting your message out. What's the reaction? Where are you seeing progress?
Individuals, personal catharsis, and using that catharsis to listen. It's like having 3 glasses that are half full of a yellow liquid. The first one is half full. Look what God gave me. The second one is half empty. I've just been taking half of my liquid. And the third one is full of piss.
You mean you started with 2 full glasses and you wound up with 3?
No, what I'm trying to say is you have choice in the way you see what's going on. And that is what makes it so.
So
the intent of it, the intentionality, is it bliss, bunny, heaven? What does flow mean? And why are we not seeking joy? Not money. Money isn't going to make you happy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, all it's going to do is make more people want to rip you off. You become on someone's radar. And it's crazy. The whole thing, in terms of what we deem as important for survival, and we've missed some of the most important basics, one of which is education is the one thing you can take with you.
Yes, and this is what this is about right now.
Well, that's right. You know, going back to school, figuring it out, get a grip, and trying to improve yourself.
Rick, how do you write a book? You've got a number of books out there. I've got some. They're wonderful. They're inspiring. It's like listening to you, and they're organized in the book. You can go and you can go back, and it's maybe in some ways a better way to absorb it. I love these interviews, so I probably prefer them to books.
Well, that's you're helping me write my book, is what you do.
Okay.
Like I'll have a chapter on structured water. How I will approach structured water in this chapter on the non-local mind will be determined by how I best interview with it, so that people get the immediacy and imaging in their mind's eye. If an image is worth 1,000 words, what's a hologram worth?
Yes.
Well, you know, think about it. An added dimension of information is what we're talking about here.
Yes.
So if a picture is worth 1,000 words, what's a hologram worth?
Yeah. Exactly. So your book should be a hologram then.
Well, it's the non-local mind in a holographic system in the universe. It turns out that the heart has non-local hearts. That's why the Greek made reference to 4 different kinds of love that Americans throw it all into one can. Eros, Philo, Agape, and Telema. And they were all different layers of relationship of yourself to the construct of someone else or love. And the highest form was love of will, Telema, Thelema.
And where is that now? I mean, the others, I think, can be energy draining or energy...
well, Eros, of course, is down between the legs.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Philo is that brotherly thing of wanting to do the right thing. You know, Eros, Philo, Agape is that brotherly relationship of I will help you any way I possibly can, unless it detracts me from my highest form of love, which is purpose. And that was Aleister Crowley that said that. Do what thou wilt.
Yeah.
Well, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. His idea was you're open and loving to anybody unless it detracts you from your true purpose. And that is the most important thing. And really, I've had people say, aren't you not liking or not wanting you to say what you're saying? And my response is that if I'm truly doing what I'm supposed to be doing, Crowley put it best when he said, none will say nay. It is the universe wants that to happen. That is your divine right. What happens next is what's supposed to happen, whether you did it kicking and screaming or you did it like Buddha where the mountain came to you. Flow.
So I'm going to twist this, what you just said. And,
what's that?
I'm going to twist what you just said and try and, you know,
sure,
feed it back. The simple construct a lot of people use is, are you in service to self or are you in service to others? And if you're operating at the Eros level and just going with your desire, that's in service to self, maybe.
Now you're getting it.
Brotherly love is maybe being in service to others. And now you're talking about a higher level, and I'm thinking of chakras moving up. the body.
Yeah, with empaths
towards,
and the ability to feel someone else's pain. Yeah.
Towards the mind. I mean, and so what's going on with Telos? I mean, you're in service to what?
So what you're really talking about is the distinctional differences between morals and ethics.
Yes.
Ethics, how did Ducky Mallard put it in NCIS? When asked what was the difference between a moral man and an ethical man. And Mallard said, well, an ethical man knows not to cheat on his wife. A moral man won't.
Ducky Mallard. Really? I like that.
Yeah, NCIS. It was a special version of it. Listen, I love my memory. I can keep it forever. That's the part you do get to take with you.
Yes. But, well, yeah, so do you think we're actually going to be ascending? Do you think the human population is going to go through some kind of change triggered by a change in radiation or something coming to this planet?
Something, yeah, there will be. It's still, we're increasing the ship of the crew by 2 million people a week, a day.
Well, I see that as
that's unbelievable.
It's scary, and it's not happening in the Western countries, is it?
Well, okay, but what happens when plundering of natural resources, tinkering with life support, and there is no owner's manual? How does that play?
Well, I remember years ago I met a woman who saw the future, and she also saw the past, and she said some things which, have stayed with me forever because they seem to be coming true. She said that, I don't know if you know this woman, what's her name, Jenny Cockrell. She wrote a couple of books. Yesterday's Children, Tomorrow's something. And I met her at a Mensa meeting in London years ago and talked to her for a while. But basically, she saw the past. She saw her past lives. Now, most of us can't remember her past lives.
That's called magical memory. And that's where you see where you left off in a past life and pick up where you left off with your purpose.
And so some people believe that we should have this capability, but it's been disabled.
Well, it's been semi-disabled. Actually, you can eat spinach and turn into Popeye. There is, well, with olive oil and all of it. I'm going to say that with intent as your focus, it will come back to you. You can't not have it happen, and it will all play in your lifetime. You will be given enough time to complete your purpose.
So
that's the way it works. By definition.
Yeah. So we will remember our lives, or we're doomed to repeat them, or we'll learn from this life. I'm just looking for little sound bites here, which is not a productive thing. But the future that she saw had a world where there are a lot fewer people. And
well, or yeah, a lot fewer physical people.
Yeah. And a lot of people have had that kind of vision. There's another book about a future where humans lose the ability to procreate, and we're seeing some signs of that. I mean, I think this has probably been engineered, but the power of the sperm of people of our generation is probably a lot more potent than those 20, 30, 3, 4 decades younger than us. And
so what you have to do is not worry about them. I'm not going to worry about you. What I'm going to do is worry about myself and realize that my daughter and my grandchildren are watching me, and that's where they learn how to do it, that will actually, in fact, save the earth.
Right. So you can't save the earth, but they
can.
No,
what you can do is save yourself.
Yes, you can save yourself.
As a metaphor.
And by providing the right example, maybe then you can save the earth.
Well, you do it by example. I'm not going to worry about you. I'm going to worry about myself. You worry about yourself or not.
Yeah, but the example you're passing on is a kind of meme that can go on and have a positive
Well, you
effect.
can see the structure in my life allows me to integrate what I learned so that I'm actually, in fact, evolving.
Yeah, but these Illuminati who apparently traumatize
The
their
illuminated
children
ones aren't bad or good.
I mean, who knows? But I mean, I understand that there are people out there who traumatize their children so that they won't have empathy, so they'll therefore become more powerful.
But those parents that do that, where did they learn how to do it?
Yeah, that's getting passed on, isn't it?
Well, that's exactly correct. And so that's your responsibility, so that I'm watching this kid next door turning into a sociopath, and by him watching me, he's now realizing that his stepfather doesn't have to be like that. And so the kid won't be like his stepfather because of my own action next door.
Great.
That is the responsibility that we each have, that we have to basically concern ourselves with ourselves and try to walk our straight line. And our straight line is different, you and mine. We're different people, and it might be, in some cases, even counterposed to each other. That's God's will. What is the purpose is figuring that out, finding out what you're really trying to do. And really, there's a simple way to do that.
Yeah.
It's what you actually end up doing, whether you kick and scream and fight your way through it. That means you get to reincarnate back with a gas mask. Or you figure out, I don't want to come back to this kind of crazy world and that kind of a lifestyle, and so I'm going to evolve this time. That's a metaphor again. Because the world you get to come back to, you don't get off the couch this time, is going to be even creepier than this one.
So basically, people, if they don't want to wake up, they're going to be in
they'll just get to
a worse and worse nightmare.
Just like that new Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah,
exactly.
Got it. Okay, so eventually he gets to a point where he can change the movie.
Well, the way the movie ended, that isn't necessarily the reality of it.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of way of living with oneself as a metaphor.
Yeah, Rick, I'd like to maybe another time.
Yeah, we'll do this
again
next week if you want. We'll just do some more as you'd like to, Michael. It's my pleasure.
Well, no, I enjoyed it. It's great. It's great fun. I think we've done an hour and something now, an hour and 15 minutes, so it's probably good.
That ought to give you a nice little sound bite, and if you need another one, we'll pick it up from there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. And,
of course.
You know, I'm going to wish you a good day, but I think I should be wishing you a good evening.
Yeah. Well, it's 6:15 here right now. And in your past, I'm still in. You're in the future. Yeah.
I tell you, and it's a wonderful future too.
Cool. You mean the Earth is still here in the morning, huh?
Yep. And in this
thank you for that hopeful insight.
I do what I can. Okay, Rick. Well, wonderful. We'll speak again soon, and
thanks, Mike.
have a great one. Okay. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
So that is our June 8th conversation with Dr. Richard Alan Miller. I trust you found some positive elements in it. We can explore these more in future talks. If you want to hear more about Dr. Miller's ideas, you can visit his primary website at richardalanmiller.com or order his books at oak-publishing.com. There's also an active thread with many comments and links to various videos at greenenergyinvestors.com. And finally, you will find several interviews we have done here on the Guido Fox channel at YouTube. Thanks for listening, and please support our work by passing on these links to others that you think will be interested.